Welcome to You're Making It Worse. I'm Elliot Glazer.
I'm Brent Sullivan.
And I'm H. Alan Scott.
We're here. We're queer.
Meh. Textual healing.
Okay, so this week, actor Darren Criss, famously of Glee, said that he is culturally queer. He was sorry to laugh. He was
as soon as I saw this, I texted the group being like, in like all caps, "We are talking about this."
Yeah, it's just very timely. It's just very like of the moment. He was at the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, and said that growing up in San Francisco helped him understand the importance of his character Blaine, who was openly gay in the show Glee. He said, "I've been so culturally queer my whole life, not because I'm trying." No, you know what? Actually, I was going to say not because I'm trying to be cool, but I'm going to erase that because I am trying to be cool. The things in my life that I have tried to emulate, learn from, and be inspired by are 100% queer as fuck. He said, it was in queer communities that I found people that I idolize, that I want to learn something from. And I'd say that's a gross generalization. That's a lot of things and a lot of people. But I grew up in, I'm sorry, this makes me laugh. I grew up in San Francisco in the 90s. I watched men die. And I'm not laughing because he said he watches men die, but right. Because he's talking about, I don't think he was born until 87. So it's like, well, he didn't grow up in like the trenches of the AIDS movement per se, but I get where he's coming from. And I know what he's saying. People were, I think, pretty quick to respond to this. And for, I think, good reasons. He's very much like a musical theater nerd. And so I think ultimately it's like people are just, I don't know. It speaks a lot to this moment in time where he literally says that being queer is like a way to sound cool and is so eager to attach the label to himself that it's just so night and day from what I would say any of us grew up with, where it was a mark of shame. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, Darren Criss, let me just start off by saying Darren Criss is the type of actor that I am so eager to hate. I am so eager to dislike. But I don't. That's the problem. I don't dislike him. He's a very good actor. I saw him on Broadway in Hedwig. His American Crime Story performance and as Andrew Cunanan, the killer of Versace, was incredible. He is incredibly hot. He is he's just good at what he does. He's very good. That said, he is kind of in that realm of a tryhard who is always kind of trying to be that thing, to be the relevant thing. You know what I mean? And when he says things like this and has his nails painted and all of these things, when in reality, he's very much just a straight man. And sure, yes, more straight men should be open to queer sensibilities and all of those things. But there is sort of a co-opting that happens where his entire career has benefited from both playing queer characters, being queer on television in Glee, doing it very well. I mean, all of the acclaim he's ever had for anything he's done on television is by playing a queer man when he is not necessarily a queer man. And so that kind of bothers me. And the only thing that doesn't really bother me a ton because he is so good at it. He's such a good actor. And his performance of Andrew Cunanan was so great. But it also just kind of pisses me off that it's like, dude, you've already benefited so much from playing queer and the queer community, and that is your fan base. You don't need to do all of this. Just be the hot dude actor, performer, singer that you are, and just exist. Take the Nick Jonas route. Just be fucking hot. Marry someone hot. Be fucking cool. And just do your thing. We don't need you to be talking about this kind of shit.
Maybe this is his way of sort of getting ahead of the narrative, since I think obviously within the last 5-6 years, there's been more of a push to get actual individuals within the underrepresented communities to play these roles. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's just trying to get as many headlines out there that that relate him to being quote queer as possible. This maybe was just his agent being like, say you're queer. That said, I read this and I wasn't as appalled. I understand why people are annoyed by it. And let me also preface by saying I don't have any cultural understanding of who this person is. I did not watch Glee. I actually would watch that Cunanan thing.
You should. It's good. It's really good. It's uncomfortable, but it's good.
Well, no, I won't. So I'm open to it, but I don't know anything about him, so I don't know how annoying he is. I do know that most actors are annoying.
You should know about him. He went to Michigan.
Did he go to University of Michigan?
He did indeed.
Okay. Sorry, Elliot, you paused for a second there. Sorry. So, but that said, like, sorry, Ellie's gonna get mad that I coughed into the mic. That said, I feel like his explanation, aside from the talking about how I watched people die, which is fucking absurd, his explanation is saying, like, look, I grew up in theater. I was always doing theater. I was surrounded by gay men my entire life. Yeah. They were my friends. They were meaningful people to me. I was in San Francisco, the gayest city in America. And so I can understand how someone, in my book, if you say that you're culturally queer because you grew up in San Francisco and you spent your entire life being a theater fag, even though you aren't technically gay, to me that is like saying you're culturally queer is fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
that's just my 2 cents.
I see how it could be so annoying, but I don't know. He seems very well-meaning to me, and I don't know. It seems like an impossible task to be hot, an object of like sexual desire by gay guys, employed by Ryan Murphy, a Broadway actor, like do all these gay things, come from San Francisco, and not be gay. It's probably that's probably hard in some sense. Like he shouldn't fit into all these spaces, you know, and yet he does. But then there's the one thing that just doesn't happen for him. So I don't know. I just think it's probably very easy for him to put his foot in his mouth. And
sure, but I also want to give an example of someone who is kind of in that realm right now, but is navigating it in a very real, authentic way. And that's Josh O'Connor, who is in the new movie Challengers with Zendaya, and I forget the other actor's name, but that's also so many of his roles recently and his upcoming roles is him playing queer, and he is, for all we know, straight, and he is playing these parts, but he's not doing it in a way where it feels like he's trying to court the queer community or trying to court queer men. Queer men are going to follow him regardless of what he does, and he does these great performances. And even though in Challengers there is part of me that I'm like, I would love to see an actor make the face of what it's like to actually touch another person's dick and not having to imagine, you know what I mean? Like not having, like I would love for more queer male actor or queer actors in general to be in these parts, both straight and gay, and doing these things. But that said, there are, I think nowadays, examples of straight male actors playing queer and not necessarily having to sort of like stroke the ego of the queer community to get headlines. And I do kind of feel like Darren Criss is kind of doing that in this instance, where it is sort of like what Brent said, the sort of like the relevancy. He's only now relevant because of the queer connection. And it's like, nah, dude, you're super talented. Go be a fucking actor. Like, yes, he just got off.
Just pivot, you know?
Just pivot. Like, you're hot enough to pivot that you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Like, you'll get lots of work, and gay men will still follow you to the end of time if you keep showing your butt. So, like, you're gonna be fine. So, yeah, I don't know. That said, I like Darren Criss a lot. I do think he's well-meaning.
Will you jerk off to him tonight?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
Okay.
But I will.
Doesn't sound like you like him then.
I will say that you need to go look at just fast forward to some of the pictures in the Andrew Cunanan performance, and you will jerk off to him tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not even joking.
Well, we are joined this week by a Brooklyn-based comedian and pop musician, Ian Lockwood. Hey, Ian.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing the podcast. It's such a delight to meet you. And, you know, I must say, I've dived into your catalog of work since we knew that you were going to be doing the show. And I can't say this very often. You have a very unique style of, like, tongue-in-cheek lyrics.
Oh, thank you.
Alongside genuine pop music style melodies and production, which is just not something that you get all the time. What kind of brought you into comedy and pop music?
Well, I was pursuing comedy professionally, or hopefully professionally, after college, and I was just doing comedy just like everybody else was.
Yeah.
And I loved music. I studied music my entire life, and I always knew I had the skills to combine them. And I have to admit this, I loved so much musical comedy growing up, but then I think
what
maybe
kind
from
of musical comedy?
Yeah.
Flight of the Conchords, I was obsessed
sure.
with. I also
Sure.
grew up. I think I'm exactly the same age as Bo Burnham, so I saw him on YouTube when he was just a kid, and then of course got into musicals that I was like, these are actually really funny. But maybe it was the New York City open mic scene that made me go, oh, maybe musical comedy as a genre is embarrassing.
It's tough.
Sure.
It's tough.
Well, I was
tough.
just gonna say that, like, it's funny because I always associated theater comedy with non-comedy. So to me, the idea of like a comedy that you would see on Broadway just didn't exist until the Book of Mormon. Now, to be fair, I didn't see the Book of Mormon, but I have met so many people who think it is just brilliantly amazing.
It's so good.
It's really
such a
and-
good show. Yeah.
And so anyway, but like, what
By
are
the
your
way,
like?
my mother said the funniest thing when we came out of Book of Mormon. We all loved it. We were all laughing the entire time. But, you know, she's the type of mom who gets everything, but she will still to this day be like, okay, no cursing. And so we get out of Book of Mormon and she goes, well, it was really funny, but did they have to be so rude? And we laughed so much. It was so good.
Where are you from? Where is your family? Where are your parents?
That we're from the suburbs of Los Angeles, and so we went to see it on tour at the Pantages Theater, which is where I got to see it.
Yes, the world famous Pantages
Yes,
Theater.
it
Yes,
was really nice.
That surprises me a little bit. I was sort of expecting some Midwest values when you said that she can hang, but she still doesn't curse. Like that felt very Iowa to me.
You also don't find a lot of like, I mean, when I think of people who go into sort of musical comedy direction, you don't think of Los Angeles as where someone comes from to do musical comedy. You think of, you know, the Midwest, you think of Chicago, you think of areas that have like a connection kind of to Broadway in a way that like allows for that. Whereas Los Angeles feels very much like it's either film or nothing, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's like
maybe that's why
do.
I'm so connected to pop music specifically, because just something wasn't hitting for me. And by the way, there were incredible examples of musical comedy going on the whole time. I just wasn't seeking them out. I was wrong to be embarrassed, but I think there was something where I was like, I want to really like the songs too, and I resisted for a long time, and then I started doing it, and I was like, I can do this my way. In a way that scratches both itches for me.
Yeah, that's a great feeling. Well, let me ask you, since this is obviously a topic that comes up quite frequently on our podcast, but I'll ask you nonetheless, who are your pop culture icons? Like who do you try to emulate when you're creating music and stuff?
So when I'm creating music, I mean, it's a lot of the modern pop girls, though I grew up with a lot of the singer-songwritery girls.
The
Regina
Lilith girls.
Spector. Yes, the Lilith girls. Catch me at the Lilith Fair. But I was obsessed with Regina Spektor. I knew like all 150 of her songs. She's so good. That's where, just imagine me as a closeted 17-year-old bringing my girlfriend to the Regina Spektor concert and being like, this rocks. This absolutely slaps.
She's so deep, babe.
This gets me. But then I think there's something so over the top, especially about Ariana Grande, that, so many of my songs I say, which she doesn't even do anymore. But I love
the Ya Queen.
The Ya Queen. There's that, I think that sex appeal. And honestly, as a gay man, I think many of us feel like we maybe want to access some of that genuine sexuality that's really positively reinforced in the culture around these really sexy female pop stars. And I get to do it in a way that is really funny, but also, I'll play it really sincerely, but it's a way for me to access a part of the culture that I really admire.
Yeah, I mean,
interesting with Ariana, because I was going to say, just because Ariana in particular, I think is so good at being a sexy vixen, but then also is like genuinely weird and goofy and odd and like owns that, and I find that really interesting about her. I just do love her voice, Yaya's included.
I love her so much, and she's a genius at vocal mixing. If you didn't know this, she does a lot of her own stuff. It's incredible.
Oh,
Well, I mean, I wanted to, because I was trying to think when I was, looking over your stuff. I was like, what is like the funniest pop song that wasn't supposed to be funny, but is like, to me, irreverently funny in the past, whatever, 10, 20 years. And I have always thought that Lady Gaga's Born This Way is the funniest song I've ever heard. Because it is like, it does kind of make me think of like a Flight of the Conchords type. So it seems like an SNL sketch song in a way. Don't you think?
Yes. When she gets to the point where she's naming races and creeds, it gets really funny.
Yes, it feels like Natalie Portman is hosting, or no, Ariana Grande is hosting SNL, and they created this song for her to like go through every nationality or something. I don't know. It just always.
Do you like Weird Al?
I love Weird Al, absolutely.
Okay.
And Weird Al was king of my elementary school and middle school.
I love Weird Al.
Yeah.
But I just want to say it's because his Born This Way spoof, I'm forgetting what it was honestly, like, it hit.
Really?
It slapped. Yes, it was very good, but I forgot.
Wow.
It was
Okay, we
about
gotta
like
find
bees
it.
or something. I might be forgetting. Born
It was
in
about
this.
bees. It's about bees.
I don't know. I might be
Bee
making
this
that up,
way?
but
Yeah.
I don't know. But you're right, Alan. It is an SNL sketch of a song, and I feel like you're not allowed to say that because it's a gay anthem. So inherently. Calling it out for what it is homophobic.
Yeah.
I was just going to say 8 years ago I would have said, "Oh, with Alan had said that because that is the sentiment is that you can't touch this song." But I've always felt it so on the nose that I find it silly. What do you
silly,
think?
yes.
What do you think, Ian?
And what songs do you think that like are comparable to Born This Way?
Oh, there's so many good ones. I think actually Kim Petras just borders on humor so often on purpose. There's a song called Meet the Parents about how she's hooking up with a guy and she loves it, but he's just not good enough to introduce to her parents, and she's kind of teasing him the whole time. It's really fun.
And she has German parents, and they've seen everything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're at Berghain right now.
Yeah. Yes.
I think whenever there's Katy Perry's Unconditionally. Also, the way she enunciates unconditionally is really fun.
Yeah.
Unconditional.
Well, also Fireworks is the funniest thing about the music video for Fireworks is that like a girl, like everyone has magically something happening to their stomachs, like a light happens and they're just magically cured. So like two gay people were feeling bad about being gay. Nope, their stomach lit up. They're okay now. A girl's in a wheelchair or something. Her stomach lit up. That's her Make-A-Wish. She's fine. Like it's just it's an absurd. She is Katy Perry is, I think, unabashedly absurd in a way that I kind of like the humor aspect of her, even though sometimes she's being earnest and it's still funny.
I don't think she's that self-aware, and I like that about her.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I do not think so. What do you think about Meghan Trainor?
I love Meghan Trainor. She's crazy. She called herself mother.
Oh,
I have a bone to pick.
Crazy is not the. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't go with crazy. That's all I'm gonna say.
She's delusional.
I'm not gonna go with crazy.
I have a bone to pick with Meghan Trainor actually because I got a message from her PR person or something asking if I wanted to receive a Meghan Trainor dog collab or no pet collab thing. They said pet collab thing, and I was like,
what?
Well, yes. So I said, and they expecting me to post about it and shit. And I said, well, I have a cat, so sure, yes, send whatever you want, and I'm sure my cat will love it, and I'll take a picture of my cat wearing it. They don't do anything for cats. They sent everything for dogs. Everything was dog shit. I was so pissed.
Well,
and they got pissed at me for not posting about it.
My algorithm knows that I hate watch Meghan Trainor content. Yeah. I'm just fascinated with. I don't hate her. I hate her music. I hate like Kids Bop, doo-wop. I hate it. It's like it's oral torture.
Is
but I'm
so good.
No. Kids Bop I love.
Yeah.
Her Kids Bop version of doo-wop, this sort of like synthesized, like flavorless version of like Amy Winehouse is what I'm fascinated with. And she did a commercial for some dog food company where it's her again. It's the same old like 3 chords, doo-wop, like her doo-wop. I can't believe doo-wop is a thing, but it's doo-wop about dog food. So
Yeah.
that's how I know.
So
Meghan
Ian,
Trainor.
go
I
ahead.
just need to tell the people about this really quick. Meghan Trainor was on a TV show that I need everyone to go watch now, and it was called The Four, if anyone knows about this. It was a singing competition show. It only lasted 2 seasons. The judges were Meghan Trainor, Diddy, I'm sorry, and DJ Khaled, thank you.
And you have to say DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled. Yeah.
And the concept of the show was it was a singing competition where there were 4 chairs, and those people were like in, and then you had to try to knock one out and get to be in the 4 who were sticking around. And they encouraged the contestants to have a lot of attitude with each other. So they would be like, you can't get my seat. You think you can get my seat? You got no talent. And then they'd be like, oh, I'll show you what real talent is. So they'd fight, and it was really
so it's like
funny.
a world, like a WWE intro before they sing,
It's like Jerry Springer.
Kiss from a Rose or something. Yeah.
It was incredible.
Wow.
Just everyone, please listen to every episode of this podcast and then watch every episode.
That feels. I'm sure it was on one of the networks, but it feels like a bad enough concept that Logo would have created that.
But it was,
or like a 30 Rock moment. Like a 30 Rock moment for Jenna or something.
Yeah,
right.
It does feel like a fake show, but it was on Fox, I think.
But now, now they're making shows like MILF Island, I just heard about, which literally was a 30 Rock joke and now actually exists as a show. Yeah.
Good.
Ian, so I want to talk about, you just released your second studio EP, Not Like Other Girls, comprised of 5 tracks in the comedy pop style that has become your signature. I checked out some of the tracks. Horny for Bowser was one of my favorites. No Homo, and of course you just started, I think you're calling it a farewell tour, which I assume is a joke. Tell us a little bit about the new EP.
The EP has been going so well. I'm so happy with it. And I have actually since released sort of a post-single called Orbo, which has its own dedicated music video and is about a digital clone of myself that lives in the computer where time works differently, and he lives a tortured, suffering existence and is constantly in pain.
Very Black Mirror. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But the whole time it's catchy and a really fun bop. And I'm having a blast, and Orbo's suffering. It's been really, really good. I've been doing these songs around the Brooklyn comedy scene and Manhattan comedy scene a little bit too for a long time now, and having them out is really, really nice. Now I'm kind of packaging everything I have into this show called the Farewell Tour, which I'm doing here in Los Angeles at a fun little festival in Maryland, and then I'm bringing it to Edinburgh Fringe Fest for the month of August, which I'm really excited for. And it is called that because I die at the end. Okay. And so it's my last show on Earth. I have a one of the pods that you use to euthanize yourself that they invented in Switzerland, and I have it on stage the entire time, and then I get into it. And so it really is a one-time event. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
But that show has been really, really fun to make and show to people, and it's 10 songs, and it is a full sort of Ariana Grande, Dua Lipa style pop concert, full energy. I'm working sort of some acrobatics in there. It's very Cher. It's very Cher Vegas, it seems. Yes. It's very, it's Ian Lockwood Last Night on Earth, and there are some surprises in it. It's been really fun.
And how are you preparing for Edinburgh?
For Edinburgh, there's so much to do. It's this crazy huge beast.
Have you ever been?
I have never been. I had friends go last year and tell me I had to go, and they really convinced me, and some of them are coming with me, which is very nice.
Yeah.
But I'm preparing in a lot of ways. I am doing choreography rehearsal by myself every single day.
Oh, how do you do that? Are you a natural born movement dancer person?
Yeah.
Actually, not really. No, I feel like I'm kind of clumsy. For the first work in progress iteration of the show, I did choreography myself, which was cute. And for this version of the show, I've been working with a choreographer. I started taking dance class at a great studio, and I am now working with a choreographer named Leia Ono. She's really, really talented. I met her through that studio. And I'll just say the dancing has gotten a lot better since she started helping me
Oh,
out.
good.
Good. That's great.
I think it's always important to have one dance that you know that's choreographed. I can do the only dance that I know
got
that
my
I can
dance.
do.
I got my
You got your
dance.
dance? Yeah, yes. The
Oh,
Brent
that's
Sullivan
good.
dance. Literally, I've always said, because I mean, the listeners know this, but Ian, you probably don't. I do drag. And I've always said that if I do Drag Race, and if I have to be in the bottom one time, as an ode to Brent, I will somehow work in to the lip sync.
There you go.
Something.
Brent's
But no,
dance
my
move
dance.
is making fun of dancing.
Yes.
Aw.
Yes.
Kind of.
But
or I'm really, really bad at dancing, and so I can't pretend that I'm trying, because otherwise you would be appalled.
the only thing that I can do, the only dance that I can do that I worked hard at, is Madonna's "Don't Tell Me" the rodeo moment.
Ooh.
Like you know where she's doing the whole thing. I can do that. That's my club trick.
That's impressive.
Thank
Now,
you.
I know this is a little personal, but I can't help. I'm just curious because this is such a foreign world to me. How much does a choreographer cost?
Okay, do you really want to know? I guess I can say.
That's such a Brent Sullivan question.
But I mean,
No, it's good. It's a good question. It's a good question.
$200 to consult for like a couple hours. Is it like thousands of dollars?
Or is it
over
a
weeks?
barter? Is it like a barter system that oftentimes in the arts we do? You know.
It definitely goes up and down, and it's based on the client. So I'm going to give you like a small range because, Leia's probably giving me a really nice deal because I don't have that much money, and I don't want anyone else to think that they can get the exact same deal. I'll say there's an hourly fee for teaching dance class essentially, which is somewhere in the, $75 to $200 an hour range.
Okay.
Sure.
And then there is a choreography usage fee, which is a certain number of hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
She also did a really nice thing for me where I go to her class also, and she was like, and you know what? That fee, it's going to also cover any of the dance we do in class if you want to just use it. So go for it.
Oh.
That's
and
great.
I feel like I'm getting a great deal.
That's a great deal. Yeah.
I've always thought that if you wanted to pick up a free dance, just something that's cheap and free, just watch Dance Moms. Just literally just watch episodes of Dance Moms, steal a couple moves, and make that your choreography.
Yeah.
We do the most evil thing in their class also. They just imagine this. I bet at least one of you is totally fine with this, but they have us go in small groups at the end in front of everyone.
Oh my god.
It's terrifying.
Wow.
Groups of 4,
Oh,
but it feels like a
no.
really safe, supportive environment to look like an absolute idiot. And I think it's been healing my mental health. I really do.
Well, I feel like when I picture dance classes, I picture like a New York style professional dancers are there, and then I picture jazzercise. I picture basically two different things.
Yeah.
And I think the first one would be extraordinarily intimidating, and the second one would be very comforting. And
isn't it also kind of like improv too, in a way? Like it just feels like a bad improv class in a lot of ways, where you're always kind of meant to feel a little uncomfortable being there.
Yeah, I think so. You're not that far off, honestly. It's like almost pro incredible dancers at the front of the class learning the hard routine. And as you go back each row, it's people who are less and less comfortable.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. And I also wanted to ask you about a show that you host. You host something called The Girlfriend Pageant, where 15 contestants compete to be your heterosexual girlfriend.
Yes, absolutely.
And I want, that's a really funny idea and concept to me. So, tell us a little bit more about that. You've been doing that a lot around New York as well. Absolutely.
Well, in that case, I kind of have to put on the voice that I do during the show, where I talk to all the beautiful ladies who are competing for my heart. I come out as this disgusting, sleazy 70s style beauty pageant host who is looking for love. I'm absolutely on the line with being a misogynist, with being a pig. But the point of view of the show is it's an incredible character showcase for women and femme performers and non-binary performers, and they are always sort of protected and lifted up even though they're doing insane crazy shit. One time a winner ate the cream out of 24 Boston cream donuts in under a minute.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that is hot. I would put that on my Grindr profile.
I know, that's a skill. I mean,
yeah.
for us. But another one covered herself in mayonnaise.
Ooh, even hotter.
I'm gonna say not hot on that one, Alan. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Really?
continue.
Oh, I would just take some French fries and dip them right off of her nipple.
Well,
You know?
now you're challenging me. Now I have to tell you that one of them popped a big, huge cyst that was the size of a softball. And sprayed her with it.
no,
So there you go.
See, it's funny. It's funny we lost Alan on that because those videos are very popular on
No.
YouTube. Yeah.
I can't
Wait,
watch
I have a
those.
question about the Boston cream. Was it
Mm-hmm.
over the top, like face first, or like through the hole in the side?
Great
Yeah,
question.
through the hole in the side, and she was squeezing them into her mouth.
Oh, wow! So it was
Yeah.
kind of getting. It was like a cum shot, or
Yeah. No,
She didn't get the chocolate. She didn't get
Don't
the
be
chocolate.
ashamed.
So
yes.
that's true.
So-
But the point of view of the show is very like they are. Oh, and by the way, her character was that she wouldn't tell us why the whole show, but she was very sick. And then the Boston Cream Donuts thing was the last thing she did, which kind of explained it. But the point of view of the show is the contestants are always pretty protected, and I am always the asshole, and I always get my just desserts by the end. So I think it's also really cathartic, I hope, to see kind of a misogynist douche get his just desserts and look like an idiot and get called gay the entire show.
Well, and also like have
yeah.
a show that's like, I mean, in a weird way, even though I know it's not this, like you're clearly a gay homosexual. And so like having a show that celebrates women and femininity and sort of just like in general, that energy, like we don't talk about how awesome women are for queer people, but specifically gay men too much. Like we have our moments where we fan out about the
unless
big
they're
ones.
pop stars.
And unless they're pop stars, the Bette Midlers are like the big ones. Ariana Grande is like the big ones. But like the women in our lives, like they're huge for so many queer men specifically. And I think we need more shows like that where women can freely put a Boston cream whatever thing on her face for the gay man in her life. Like I think that's wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah, and I try to step aside and do my best to be like, if you need someone to shit on, I'm right here. Otherwise, fly and let everyone see how amazing you are.
Yeah.
And one last thing I wanted to talk to you about, Ian, was I discovered that not only did you attend NYU's theater
This
school,
is an
Tish,
incredible question, by the way.
but you went to the experimental wing of it.
ETW.
What in God's name could that mean?
Yeah.
What in God's name could the experimental theater wing be? Brent wants to know.
But at NYU, you know, I mean, it's like I picture that being like no tests. You know, you go to school.
Yeah,
you go to class with just wearing shorts or something, feathers, and like a boa, and then
That's Gallatin.
do a
That's where
dance.
I went. That's my school, Gallatin. ETW at Tisch is a different story, but I'll let Ian explain that.
Ian,
But
let us
like
know.
the ETW kids and the Gallatin kids would kiss. You know,
Yes,
that like
one and the
they're
same,
friends.
yes.
Yeah.
LA kissed plenty at NYU. Continue, Ian.
I didn't.
Come on. I also didn't that much. I got my first boyfriend in college. He was
Oh.
11 years older than me. I snuck into Nowhere Bar on Bear Night, and I was 20 years old, and I found a 31-year-old boyfriend. And he was like, "How old are you, by the way?" And I was like, 20. I snuck in. He was great. He was so nice. He was a really good person. Anyway. The experimental theater wing, you're not that far off. Honestly, we did some crazy stuff, but of course we still had to get our gen eds in there. We had to get our theater studies in there, but there are different studios in the acting program because they take so many kids, and they're kind of centered on different acting philosophies. And this one is pretty much all about like black box theater, device theater, writing stuff. The reason I really wanted to be in there, other than being so weird, is because there was an emphasis on writing, and I wanted, if there was some sort of program that I could have gone to that was kind of half the acting school, half the like screenwriting school, that's what I would have gone for. And this was close. There was like tons of traditional acting training that was really solid and theory based. We also did like movement class 3 times a week for an hour and a half. That sometimes was like jujitsu or capoeira. And
Wow. Wait, what
One
was the
time-
weirdest thing you like? I want to know, like when you if someone asked you what is the weirdest thing you had to either write or do in the school, what would that moment be?
I think Well, let me give you two answers. There's kind of the easy answer is like there was the option to do, and I'm not sure if they do it anymore. There was the option to do scenes naked.
I was going to say the nude. I heard about those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Always a rumor, never forced. That there was a rumor that it was forced. But
Wow. Interesting.
and like a couple times we had to do performance art in the park. That was fun. But the one that always shocks people is we got taught a lesson by our acting teacher, which was sometimes the conditions on stage are going to be different from the conditions you're trying to imagine. For instance, it could be a really chilly theater and you're in the middle of the desert and you have to act like the sun is beating down on you. So in sort of the late winter, we're all going to go outside. We're all going to take off all of our coats. And we are going to practice standing in the cold and not letting it get to us.
Oh, that's it. I get that. That's kind of fun. That's like a fun challenge.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna say they made you get nude again, and I was gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on at NYU?"
Hey, free love,
there's
man.
constant nudity at this school. Wow, that's really interesting. Were you able to do it?
Yes, some tips. It's all about sort of breath control, shivering, chattering teeth. That's going to make you feel cold.
By the way, you can only imagine like the actual homeless people in Tompkins Square Park are like, oh my god,
here we go
these
again.
fucking rich kids out there. Brr, we should get back into movement class.
So meta.
The only thing I learned from any theater training I've ever had, because I did at DePaul University, I did some theater, and I was so bored that a teacher taught me, lift your legs, your feet off the ground a little bit, and you won't fall asleep because you'll be so focused on your. And that is the only thing that has benefited me so much in my life when I'm bored in moments. And it's great leg workout too. It really is.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got through that.
Thank you.
Ian, this has been an absolute delight. Where can people find you on the internet, and where can they buy your albums?
You can
follow you online. Yeah.
Don't let me cut you off. I'll take it all. I can be found at Mr. Ian Lockwood on all platforms. That's MR and then my name. And you can stream my albums on Spotify. I have lots of music videos on YouTube. And if you live in Los Angeles, Maryland, New York City, or Scotland, you can come see my show, The Farewell Tour, coming to a city near you if you're one of those 4 cities. Maybe I'll do Chicago. And that's pretty much it for me. I just want to say, stream Sabrina Carpenter Espresso.
She could definitely use your help.
She needs my help. And I think she and I would be good friends. Yeah.
Yeah, you would be.
I think we'd be
I
good
like that
friends.
song.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ian.
And another thing.
Okay, so something happened this week that will live rent-free in my mind for the rest of my life. It is a comment left on Instagram that I will quote until the end of time, actually. My time, at least. So Melissa McCarthy, the actress, twice Academy Award nominated, and a prior interview that I did with her on The Parting Shot. Thank you. She's lovely. Posted a photo with another person who is he's sort of a friend of mine. We've only met once, but we DM on Instagram a lot. Andrew Shankman. He's a fantastic director who directed Hairspray and so many other great things and great films too. So she posted this photo. Barbra Streisand then commented on the photo, and I quote, "Give him my regards. Did you take Ozempic?"
Wow.
And it is.
I didn't do any research on this before we started.
Oh,
That's like
sit back,
insane.
sit back. There's more. So, of course, this went crazy. And in the moment this happened, my phone blew up. People were texting me as if this was something that I needed to address immediately. Now, I immediately was like, well, I know Andrew, so I'm not going to go down this road. I'm not going to go crazy on this, but I am going to be DMing people about this. And so this went crazy. Everyone went crazy with it. McCarthy responded to this video or this comment with a video of her own saying, the takeaway, Barbra Streisand knows I exist. She reached out to me and she thought I looked good. So she wins the day. So Melissa McCarthy is on board. And then Barbra Streisand responded in a text post saying, OMG, I can't believe she did that. I went on Instagram to see the photos we'd posted of the beautiful flowers I'd received for my birthday. Below them was a photo of my friend, Melissa McCarthy. Melissa McCarthy appeared on Barbra Streisand's album Duets like a couple of years ago. My friend, Melissa McCarthy, who I I sang with on my encore album. She looked fantastic. I just wanted to pay her a compliment, and I forgot the world is reading. Now,
there's no apology in there.
Well,
Well,
I would argue there's no compliment.
There's no
compliment
need. Well, there's no need for a compliment or an apology, I don't think, because we already know the receiver of the comment is not offended. She's not. There's no problem here. This was clearly an intent of someone who, now that we know that Barbra Streisand is actually doing the thing that we all do every single day of our lives, sit on the couch, except for Brent Sullivan, sit on the couch and look at Instagram and scroll through Instagram. The fact that Barbra Streisand is sitting on her couch, scrolling through Instagram and thinking she's DMing Melissa McCarthy, her friend, when in reality, she is posting a comment to millions of people, for millions of people to see. Clearly, she did not intend for this to be public. And she asked the question, which I don't think there was I don't think it's offensive to ask someone if they're on Ozempic or if they're doing anything, because, listen, as a fat person, it is not.
Oh, you!
It is not horrible to acknowledge someone's body and say the things out loud. I acknowledge it too. I am a fat person. And I am open about taking Ozempic. I'm open about being on these wonderful new medications that have helped me in so many amazing ways. It is also not shocking that Melissa McCarthy is a larger person. We can see it. You can acknowledge it. It's okay. You don't have to be offensive about it, but you can acknowledge it. And to ask the question, I don't think necessarily is offensive, but I do love this moment in which all of this happened within a matter of 24 hours, and I just love it so much.
Okay.
And it's
okay. Okay. All right. So I have a different approach, but I don't feel very, very strongly. First of all, great point, Alan. I definitely agree. Just merely mentioning Ozempic shouldn't be deemed as a slight necessarily. I respect that maybe other people would take it differently, but I hear the point you make. So here's the thing. I don't know a lot about Barbra Streisand, but I do know that she has this sort of infamous reputation for being cold and mean, aside from her public persona. And I guess that informs my belief whether this was truly intended to be private or not, or whether this was truly intended to be like just a curious question, or if she was actually kind of, for lack of a better term, negging Melissa McCarthy. And I don't feel very strongly, but I feel like this is just like, sort of like, this is a comment from someone like Barbra Streisand who spent her entire life, probably starving herself to be very small, to be thin, and she's making a passive-aggressive comment to McCarthy in perhaps an intentionally public way, perhaps not. I don't know. Didn't she
follow up to explain like I should have it in front of me, but something like I saw my friend and I sent her flowers or something.
Well, that was the comment I read. She went on Instagram to look at the flowers, and then underneath that photo was the picture that Melissa McCarthy posted. Oh. And listen, Barbra Streisand is an 80-some-year-old woman using Instagram. And now, this is not ageist of me. I'm just saying that this technology is not necessarily firsthand, doesn't come easy to everyone. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Barbra Streisand to think that maybe she's commenting privately on something that Melissa McCarthy posted. You know what I mean?
I get that. I get that. That's certainly a possibility. Certainly.
I think it's more of a boomer mistake than a passive-aggressive dig. I think it's just I think it's just very evident of her age, and I love when boomers I love watching people misuse the internet or whatever. I just love that. Like, that's my favorite niche.
But it did bring up a bigger conversation of the sort of the double standard that we have when it shows people who are not of larger bodies how uncomfortable they actually are with people who are in larger bodies. Because if I look at someone and they looks like they've been working out, or they've, whatever it's been, that is somehow a compliment to be like, oh, you've been working out, you look great, like this is, it looks whatever, it's working out for you, the thing. And that
No,
somehow is
no one's ever said that to me, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
but that somehow is a compliment. Oh, it looks like you lost weight, or oh, these things like these are compliments. But if you use something like Ozempic, and I get the inference that like, there's this sort of drama around the drug that it seems like people are cheating, or it seems like people are whatever to do it. But for me, I'm like, if someone wants to ask me about my own weight loss and they want to say that I've used Ozempic, which I have, well then great, please ask me about it. Let's have a conversation about it. And sure, that's just me, but what I'm saying is there is a double standard in which how people of different bodies feel around commenting and talking about other, like they think, oh well, we need to be soft with this person who's a larger person because of their weight loss, and we need to be sensitive about their weight loss and all of these different things, when it's like, no, let's just have a real conversation about the great things that are out there happening right now.
Or not, like, or maybe just not comment to somebody on their body, whether it's on Instagram or not. Like you don't have to, it's, I guess I understand why people say, oh, you look great, or you lost weight.
I wouldn't be offended if you asked me that. I would be offended if a stranger came up and, well, whatever, like someone who doesn't know me was asking me about my body. But if you did not know I was on Ozempic and asked me if I was on Ozempic as a friend, I wouldn't be offended by that. And what I'm saying is Barbara and Melissa they know each other.
Well, Alan, I mean, again, you're making perfectly fair, reasonable points, and I agree with you completely. But I do think that there has been, it might be a particularly fringe group, but I think there's been a pushback among some folks online within the last, 5-6 years, where it's not acceptable. I've even seen pushback against the notion that it's unhealthy to be quote unquote overweight, and that shouldn't be reinforced. And you don't have to speak to that one way or the other. Mm-hmm. I just think there is some muddying of the waters, I think, as there is with almost everything online now. There's some muddying of the waters of what you're allowed to say, what is considered socially acceptable to say to someone.
Oh, sure. But I think a lot of the muddying of the waters around that does come from people who are uncomfortable around people in larger bodies. And I do think that there's a lot of great, Roxane Gay is a great person out there who it's like, I'm not a surprise to you that I am a different size than the seats that they make on airplanes. Like, I know visually, you look at me walking onto an airplane and you have a thought runs through your head if I'm going to sit next to you. I know that. I'm acknowledging that because I'm the bigger person. You're too afraid to publicly acknowledge that. And you're too afraid to have, like, I'm saying you're as the society in general.
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of the sort of confusing conversations that exist out there that do kind of muddy the waters are from people who frankly feel uncomfortable around fat people. People are uncomfortable around fat people, and they're uncomfortable to acknowledge because it's not bad to be fat. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but yet we connotate it with being bad, that this person has failed in some way, and they haven't failed in any way. It's just it's the shape of their body, and there are things that you can do to get yourself to a healthy space. And what I love about Ozempic, I was just having this conversation, is that it's not about the weight loss for me. It's about the constant food chatter in my brain. And if someone wants to ask me and say, "Oh, you've lost weight, let's have this you mind me asking if maybe like what you're doing, like are you on Ozempic, or like have you benefited from things?" And I had this full conversation with someone the other day where it's just like, I'm just so glad that someone wants to have that conversation with me, because we don't talk more about that food chatter in your brain that is fucking nonstop for me, and it has been my entire fucking life, and that it doesn't exist anymore. And this thing has helped me have that. So it's like, we should be having more conversations like that.
I'd like to see Barbara ask comment the same thing, but on the profiles of all the people who I want to know if they take Ozempic or not.
Wait, can I throw this out one more? I know that was a great ending, and I'm sorry to run through it, Elliot. But I want to throw this out. This is a little, and one more tidbit to my thing. So Barbara's cover was that she was giving a compliment to her friend. Mm-hmm. But when you read the comment, it's not a compliment. The comment is, "Give him my regards. Did you take Ozempic?" That isn't a compliment. That's to me reads as someone who was covering for a message they didn't intend for so many people to see.
Yes, I think she is covering for a message. I don't think she intended for anyone to see that message, regardless of the intent of the message. But that said, too, I also don't think it's necessarily a diss either. I just don't see it. I don't know. I just don't see it I see it as like a boomer mistake, like Elliot said.
So, can I tell you another thing I'm confused about? So, Barbra and Melissa McCarthy recorded or have a track together on one of Barbra's albums.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy said in her comment, "Here's what we learned today. Barbra Streisand knows who I am."
Yeah.
Why would you say that about someone if you've
Yeah.
met them or been together
Well-
with them? So presumably they recorded separately?
I think you're taking that on surface level when in reality the video very much reads like when Melissa McCarthy is reading that line or saying that line in her video, it's sort of like her being like, "Hey, Barbra knows who I am." Like it's not like she's saying, you know, "Oh,
We just
Barbra knows who I
discovered-
am."
oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
she's saying to the people, "Stop hating on this. Barbra knows who I am. We're
Oh,
tight."
got it. Okay.
Like yeah, it's implied like that. It's not like
well,
not like
I
how
will,
you're.
I will end with this then. I'm right, you're wrong.
What would your aunt say?
Brent, what would your Aunt Ramona say about something she heard on today's show?
You can tell Alan he's never looked better, and Brent, you have never looked worse.
My Aunt Joanne would say, "Justice for Barbara." How about Aunt Anne?
And Anne would say, "Well, if Darren Criss is culturally queer, I'm culturally chocolate. I can't get enough of it.
True.
I can't. Just keep
It's
on
true.
snacking on those kisses."
Great job.
Don't you hate how they're
Good
wrapped
job.
individually? She literally had a full
Yeah.
conversation with me once about how she's annoyed that the Hershey kisses are wrapped individually. That
Here's
they
the
should make
point.
that they
They're
should
very
make a
easy.
bag. I know, but they should make a bag of just the chocolates unwrapped.
By the way, my mom's been hitting this recently. My mom will be like, "I'm a chocoholic," and I'm like, "Oh my god, Mom!"
I think
please
something
not
happens when
use
you reach a
that."
certain age where, like, I mean, maybe chocolate becomes a topic of conversation. I've definitely
Yeah.
had it with something.
Well, let's be
My-
fair. It is a topic of conversation with Elliot Glazer as well. So
Yes. Yes.
My niece loves chocolate, and she was having a bowl of some chocolate ice cream in Brooklyn, and she said, my sister said, "What are you eating?" And she goes, She goes, "Ice cream." And then she holds her hands out. She goes, "It's good for your body."
strong bones. That's very cute. Can I tell you? I was going to save this for our Patreon, but I'm going to just bring it up anyway, because the Patreon deserves better than this. I feel so bad for you guys.
Why?
I feel like you guys are living lives that are adrift and arguably even meaningless because you have not tried my recent sorbet concoction, Sunny D. I created a Sunny D sorbet, which is a little bit of orange, a little bit of lime, and a little bit of lemon, and it is delicious. And you guys are missing out on life.
You use Sunny D?
I love Sunny D. Whenever I get sick, which I've been, I drink Sunny D. And it's so tangy and delicious. It's really good. It's really good.
Honestly,
tangy
if they
and
made
delicious.
Ecto Cooler, I would buy that.
No,
Could I make you a sorbet of Ecto Cooler?
Yeah, I would have that.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
Write me a check for $100 and I'll do it.
$100.
Bye.